Hi, Chris.
Hey, Christina, what's the good word? I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. And today we are a threesome. With your wife.
I
know. California living.
Yeah.
A spiritual threesome. And today I'm really excited because we both agreed that we really wanted to have someone on that we could both kind of tandem read and do our thing and show what we do, right? Because we always just kind of show up and we talk about things, but now, we're ready. And what better way to do it than jump into the deep end and get your wife to come along?
Yes. Yeah.
That was an interesting conversation.
Yeah, and it's challenging, reading Meredith, because then there's the differentiation between, her people and what's coming in, and then there's Chris, the husband. That's why you're sitting in a different room, Meredith. But we're live from San Luis Obispo, and Christina King is live from Long Beach, California. And I'm excited. So this is hopefully something that Christina and I will do. I'm sure it is actually. I say hopefully, it's just going to happen. And the trick is that you have to like the podcast and subscribe in order to win a deep coaching session with Christina and I on the podcast.
Exactly.
Sound good? You like that?
Exactly. Yeah, I like that. So you can email one of us, either Chris at kingandmccann.com or Christina at kingandmccann.com. Preferably Chris. No, just joking. Bother him. Schedule it with him, and I'll just show up. No, it doesn't matter. But yeah, you definitely have to like and subscribe.
So back to the threesome.
Yes.
We are going into the Akashic Records. So both Christina and I use a variation of Linda Howe's pathway prayer process. Meredith, you do not need to go into your own records. You can just sit back, relax, and strap it down.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, and so I am going on silent so that I don't ruin your groove there, Chris. And I'll see you in a moment.
See you on the other side. And so we do acknowledge the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth, as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. Holiness of high regard, help me to know Meredith in the light of the Akashic Records, to see Meredith through the eyes of the Lords of the Records, and enable me to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters, teachers, and loved ones of Meredith have for her. And I'm going to be silent for probably a couple of minutes here.
The records are now open.
The records are now open. All right. What do you say, Christine? You want to take a couple seconds?
Yeah. I just got to do initial downloading here.
Okay. Oh, this is really interesting. So what I'm getting, Meredith, and I'll just, because we're on a podcast and I know there was a lot of silence there, is when I was going into the records, it showed you with a 12-inch ruler, and you were just kind of like banging it in your hand. And it was like, okay, like this is interesting with Meredith as a ruler. And it was like taking measure was the message. So then when I settled in just for a quick second, and then I'll let Christina go and I'll jump back in, it had you like standing over like a workbench or a workstation, and you were like measuring stuff, and working with some sort of, like there was like some sort of a home construction project that you're working on. And as I say that, now this sounds familiar. But is a building, right? So you're measuring things like architectural plans, taking measure, making sure that everything is just so, more from like a general contractor perspective. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So for me, as soon as I started opening your records, I saw tapestries. Like it's very bizarre to describe, but these tapestries are they look African in origin. So it's like very vivid brown with like black vivid shapes that look like humans making music on it, and a couple of leaves on that. And there's a children's book called Boom Chicka Chicka. I think it's Boom Chicka Boom or something like that. And the art that I saw was very, very similar to that. Don't know what that is, but we can definitely explore that if you'd like. And then I saw you kind of tribal around a fire at night, and you were very, very sweaty, and you're like by this huge bonfire. You were so sweaty, but it was so like seductive and sultry. But you were in a crowd where you're almost like the main focus of the whole thing. And there were some drum beats that really resonated through your soul. I saw like the vibration come through you. And I mean, you were just like really, really in a moment of joy, but also a moment of intense spiritual energy.
Yeah, I'd love to know a little bit more about the that tribal scene.
Yes. Okay.
I'd like to know, I mean, I think specifically, was it, what am I in is this a previous incarnation or a previous expression of myself?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I'd like to know that.
I really think it is, actually. Yes. Definitely. But I also think that it's important for you to, because I'm asking, why did she need to know this? You know, if it's already passed and whatever. It's because of the music, of the colors. A lot of those kinds of things about that life would really resonate with your soul now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you're a music lover or you're a drum circle lover of like dancing around a fire kind of deal, but definitely explore that side of yourself. Have you had an interest in kind of like sub-Saharan African tribal music? I mean, there are so many. Africa's so vast. I don't know how to pinpoint it because there's so many, peoples of Africa. But I'm seeing specifically this. I'm getting the book Boom Chicka Boom. I'm gonna have to look that up. But I think
I will too.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting out of that is that it's very much so yes to a past expression, but the reason it's being served up right now is because of the relevance and how you can use that sort of activity to really be present and embodied. So rather than being in your head, using very drum heavy music, very primal, earthy, elemental energy as a way to connect to yourself in body, and then using that as a vortex, right, to elevate yourself without necessarily working on elevating yourself. Very much in the moment and present, heartbeat, drum beat, moving your body, right? That's what I'm pulling out of that.
Exactly what he just articulated. I second that. But I'm also getting a little bit of like, there should be some moments of unbridled joy in your life. So giving yourself permission and setting the stage for those moments would be a very way forward for you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it almost like Christina, when you were talking, it was almost like yes, more of that.
Yeah.
Yes, more of the that unbridled, I think is the word you use, the unbridled joy, and that almost the like letting my hair down more, and being able to be comfortable with being sort of carried away by the moment.
Right. And yeah, exactly. Because there's like a big group around you and you're just sweating, but you look so seductive and sexy and just shiny with the sweat. And it's just like, you just let go. And it's just a really beautiful moment. And I wish I could let you see it too.
I know.
Because you'd be like, whoa, I look good. I look like
dang.
I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
I'll show you later,
Yeah.
Meredith. Yeah.
Sounds good. Or I'll show you.
No.
There's that too.
So what would make this worthwhile for you?
Yeah. So the for you, Chris, what was the tone of the home construction project?
It wasn't anxious. It was
Okay.
steadfast. And joyous may not be the right descriptor, but happy and content and building and planning. And you like to plan. And it's like no wasted effort though, right? So you were leaning into it. You had everything you needed from a tooling perspective, the whole setup, and everything's laid out in front of you. It didn't feel frantic. It didn't feel anxious. And it feels like taking measure and assessing and just kind of having a sense for where things are as you're building this next version of yourself.
Right.
So that was what you're referring to, what you spoke about earlier, right?
Yes.
Which I think I took my thing out, which is fine, but I got something else, a little bit, another layer to add on to it, which is there is an element of empowerment about that for you, because I'm getting the word frustration over and over again, actually, when you in the past maybe have done things that do need to be controlled in some way, like a project. So it's like now it's the time when it's like you'll have a better experience with it all, because now it's like you're a little bit wiser to the frustration and to the troubleshooting of it, like kind of calming yourself down and being like, okay, I'm just going to roll with it. And if I cut that wrong, I cut it wrong. That's fine. How can I just change it and make it look better than before? And then, there's like a source of empowerment in that kind of like being in that kind of project.
And I'm glad you said empowerment, because when I see you in this like room doing this work, it's you by yourself, right? So it's almost like you're in your own like garage or your own work, like some say men, but some people have their own like garage where they go do woodwork and stuff like that. It's your own little sanctuary that you're working in. So, like bent over, you've got the outfit on, you've got the jeans on, right? It's like you're fully present and aware of what you're doing.
It's all about the outfits in this.
All of the outfits, I was just going to say.
But I'm getting, it's almost, this is representative, that moment that about, the building and everything is kind of like an active learning meditation almost. So it's like the journey is kind of like up and down, and at the end you're like, I learned so much.
Well, I was just gonna say that almost feels like when you guys are talking, it almost sort of feels like this is what I have been doing since moving up here.
Oh,
like in
Possibly.
terms of my what I've been doing on evolving myself and working on myself and spending time in therapy and just cleaning some things up and being diligent and finding that place of serenity now more often, or that flow state a little bit, and being able to be a little silly or let my hair down a little bit more. I mean, it's kind of hard to do in COVID, right? but as much as you can with sort of every day being Tuesday, how are you able, how can I find these moments of joy? Because if they're not in the everyday, then really what do we have?
That's
right?
Because it's all about the inward.
Right. Because it can't just be, I think before I was always looking like for that next thing. And I'm not saying, I don't know if I'm saying it the right way, but it's like, okay, I'm going to teach a class and I'm going to be with these amazing people. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to doing something and going on a date night with Chris this weekend. Okay, I'm looking forward to then going to see my friend. I'm looking forward to these things that were going to be happening versus looking inward, slowing down, taking me time, enjoying being on a walk and actually looking at the color of the leaves when I'm on a walk, and maybe skipping down the street a little bit, because it's not that, oh, what's that thing going to be that's going to sort of feed the dopamine in my brain, right? And for that external stimulation, and it has to bloom from inside.
Right.
And I think I've been sort of head down on that work for the past few months while being up here in our pandemic vacation spot. So
your vacation from Santa Monica.
Yeah.
Your extended vacation from Santa Monica.
Yeah, I mean, in COVID, is there really any wrong move? It's all this learning.
That's right. That's right. Well, great. No, congratulations on that movement.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
Yeah, good things I'm sure are coming to you here and there where you're like, yay, I'm growing and things.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just telling Chris about that the other day when we were on one of our many walks that we take around the neighborhood. And it was just like, I'm catching myself. Like now it's like, I have the tools. I've worked through some of the tools with help and support from my therapist. And now it's like, I'm putting rubber to the road.
Ooh.
And like yesterday I caught myself 3 or 4 times. I was catching the tone with which I was talking to myself. And the way that I can like pull myself down this like rabbit hole of like negative thinking and this train of anxiety and all that sort of stuff. And it was like, whoa, time out, people. Like, who's driving the bus? I'm driving the bus. I don't want to go down that road. So let's just take a breather here. And I'm not going to play into those mind games. Just not. But it's like, it was tiring because it's like, oh, I'm doing this again. Oh, I'm doing it again. And it was just like, no, but yes, I'm doing it again because it's going to get easier and easier and easier and become more second nature as I keep working with it. And that's like the everyday work.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what everything was just a minute ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
Well, what other questions do you have? Do you have anything else you want to explore about that, or something different?
I think something different, if that's cool with you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
I prepared a couple questions, as Chris said. I'm a planner. So one's is a little bit broad, perhaps. So maybe you guys can help me fine tune it. But I'm interested in, I've been thinking about this for a while. What broad lessons am I to be learning in this lifetime? And I know that's a loaded question, meaning that there could be 8 million different kinds of answers. But if there's a, top 2 or 3 lessons that in this expression through Meredith here on Earth, what are those lessons that I'm to be learning?
And don't apologize for that question because I think I like that question.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna let Christina fire away first.
It might be a minute. Hold on.
She's writing.
Yeah, I'm trying. It's all, so I gotta be like, whoa, slow it down, guys. funnel it through. Okay, so the first word I get is balance. That's a big theme for your entire life. So I'm hearing that if you were to analyze your entire life, you can chop it into different sectors, right? Of like time and stages of life, right? And in every one of those, you had situations as a whole where you had to balance one thing and another thing. So it's almost like you have a personality where you just want to go ham in one direction and then you want to go ham in another direction. So it's like a big theme for you in this life that you signed up for, believe it or not, was this balance, this learning of balance. So so like for right now, it's like work versus life balance. So I'm seeing like the line between work and life is very light for you. And that's okay, that existence of both. But it's like trying not to actually separate it too much, which is the opposite of what you might think. It's like where you embrace it all as part of your life. I'm gonna have to sneeze in a minute. Sorry. Okay, it's gone. But does that make sense to you? It's like, it's almost like I see you doing classes online, because I know you are. You're doing like yoga thing online, but then it's like you get into like yoga mode, and then it's like you go into like wife mode, and then you go into mom mode, and it's almost like there should be a balance of where your identity is all of those, and there's kind of a, I don't know,
fluidity.
Yeah, there's like a fluidity about it. So this is, I'm being told, is kind of a natural way, because whatever is presented to you, everything gets hardened immediately by you. But then as time goes on, it all starts to move. It's kind of a natural thing because that's what you're here learning. So if you look at other places in your life, that probably was very similar, where everything started out as sector, and then it got a little bit more comfortable as you, I don't want to say softened up. I mean, you're still very tough, but like, kind of softened the edges a bit. And in some other lives that you had, a lot of them, there were a lot of control issues placed on you and placed by you. And that is maybe some trauma in the future that you might want to explore, maybe with your husband, going back to some of those lives to talk to that manifestation of your soul and give it the healing that it needs, so that you can kind of cut the ties and make it a little bit milder of the effect that you bring into this life. Chris.
Was that a second?
Oh, yes.
Oh, was that the second lesson? Or is it related to the balance?
It's related. It's related. The balance is related to control issues.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing I got was trust. The second thing I got was love/be loved. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But they were separate, right? So like just things to work on. And some of it just felt like master. It's like spotting someone, the R-S-T-L-N and E on Wheel of Fortune, right? It's like, yes, to love, learn how to be loved, right? Like those are some pretty common themes, but trust, and it's less about your trusting other people and more about you trusting yourself. And when you bring an ease and grace, and I had heard your voice saying ease and grace, Chris, ease and grace. And when you bring an ease and grace into your life, and less monkey mind, more allowing and trusting that everything is as it's supposed to be, gives you the space in which to operate, the space in which to be able to dance freely around a fire, half clothed, to skip down the street, to have a 12-year-old yelling in your ear, and to be able to enjoy that, right? As if it's like the soundtrack that you signed up for. And yeah, so ease and grace and balance are really, like similar coins, right? Maybe one's a younger coin, one's an older coin. But that ability that you're developing and remembering on being anchored into the moment, breath by breath. It's like, I'm not attached to that, right? And just, even if just for a moment, it feels like there was a lot of leveling up for you in this incarnation. I mean, a lot of just cleaning things up. I got huge chills thinking about that. It's like working on a doctorate, right? And like this culmination of to tell the story. It's like these little green cards are going back, like you had shared with me. It's like, oh, so now I've reached trust, and you can put that one back, and then there's just another lesson to go grab. And that it isn't, there's no ever arriving, right? It's just a constant refinement of what that balance is, and how I'm seeing like this ball, like kind of like circling, not circling a drain, but how it just eventually it just starts to spin and where it's in complete balance, but it's always in motion, right? The ball doesn't stop spinning. It just has an even distribution and non-attachment to being too far to the left or too far to the right or too far this way, too far there. It's just very centered, and a top is probably the best way, even though it's not what I saw. But a top is very much like that. I think the ball is more representative of you as a human spirit, as a soul. Christina?
Yes, and self-love is a big one as well. Like it's like not a major theme, but a minor theme that would help really ignite the major ones. Self-love. And I'm getting maybe in your earlier life, love was a big issue for you within a family dynamic. And I don't want to, because we are on a podcast, I don't want to get too into who I got for that, but just, I'm sure you know if that was the case. So, but as far as your impact on people, so all of that I think was very internal, right? And your advancement, but for impact on people, it's like you're really good at, how do I explain it? Helping people level themselves up, which is very interesting. I think I remember this actually about you now that this is coming in, but it's like helping people level themselves up, but not always in like the most, I don't know, the condescending way, like, oh, you're doing a good job. It's almost like you're a little bit harder about it. So you're just pushing people towards their power more. That's what you're doing. And you're doing it with a great intention. And that's a great impact that you have on people. So it's almost like I see kind of a web. It's like you help one person, and then because that person's life has improved, it helps. It's almost like I just see like this big blossom go, ring, and then they just kind of blossom. And then whoever's in their life, because they are actually being more of themselves and
Authentic.
From your impact, everybody else is going ding, 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 ding. So it's like a ripple effect. So there is a human impact for your lifetime.
That's awesome. I'm doing what I do, being a teacher of yoga and spending time with people. I can definitely see growing into that more, and particularly now during COVID, and then whatever it looks like after this podcast ends, right? Because I don't know if there's ever really going to be an end. We're just going to keep progressing to where we're progressing to. Yeah, and I like the minor and the major. Those all feel really right to me too. The balance, the trust, and self-trust, right? I think to your point, Chris. I feel like I worked a lot on the trusting others. And then now it's like time to clean that up a little bit in terms of my own self-trust. And I see that connected to control, right? Which
Well,
is
there you go.
It's all connected, right? I mean, it's all connected, but that's incredibly helpful and also just reassuring.
Well, people listening couldn't see my head when Chris said, this lifetime you're cleaning up a lot. I would totally agree with that. There's a lot of residual that you're kind of shifting through. And yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And it feels like that. It's like, I almost feel like after spending years and years in therapy as a teenager and in my 20s, and, I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm done. Like, ta-da! And then it was like, okay, maybe because I just wasn't quite aware of things, and now I'm more aware. But for the past 10 years, I've done just as much work as I did in my teens and my 20s. And it's invigorating in a lot of ways. It can be tiring in a lot of ways too. It's like, I just want to be able to rest, and sometimes I'm just like, wait, I thought I already worked on this, or I thought this was already put to bed, and now it's coming back, but in a slightly different way, or, so, yes. Yeah.
Do you think, go ahead, Christina, sorry.
No, it's just going to be like, you're going to come out of this better than when you came in, as in into the life and exit life. You're going to be, pretty powerful. I mean, you already are, but
I know. Thank you. You too.
It's in professional, I guess in any like professional baseball league, they take mud out of a river and they use it to buff the baseballs as they come in. It's a very specific mud. And so as you're talking about this refinement, I have a question for you. And then it gave me this baseball metaphor and using some of this mud, to make the baseball playable, right? So using something that's very earthy, could be perceivably dirty. I'm seeing like a lot of like microbes in there. So like even though the mud appears to be mud, there's like infinite amounts of life forms that live in these riverbanks, and using that as a way to bring this to life. So it's not a solo effort, right? It's also leveraging what's around you to be able to do so. So the question for you is that if you go back in time, let's say 15 years ago.
Pre you.
not by design. I guess it's certainly 10 years ago, but let's just go back let's go back pre-Hudson, right? So let's go back to
almost 14 years.
Yeah. Okay. So marriage number one, and still in doing some therapy, or still, right? That's an ongoing thing. Would you then, when you had those things checked off, would you have been content then with a more traditional life pattern, meaning working for another 15 to 20 years, another kid maybe, move into a bigger house, move out to the suburbs, the type of picture I'm painting, and then not doing more work on yourself, or not having this ability to lighten yourself up, if you will, and to work on the spiritual aspects?
Yeah. I knew you were going there, and I'll answer it a slightly different way, or I'll answer it in the way that you ended, which is I could care less about the kids or the house or the suburb. Like, to me, that's just whatever. If that fits right, it fits. But I wouldn't have been content just resting on my laurels and just not continuing to evolve and to grow. yeah, I don't see that ever happening, or have ever been able, like, even been in the cards for me. Just because of the way that obviously my life has turned since then and has changed and evolved. But I certainly would not have been a happy person. So, you know, if the growing and evolving and lightening up, as you put it, puts me in the suburbs and the house with kids and all that, fine, great, and doing my job, okay, fine. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that is what leads, not necessarily starting with the tactical part of the way my life is living.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I was evolving and leveling up and, you know, in a tree house in a jungle somewhere, and that was what I needed, okay, you know.
So as he asked that question, because I'm tapped in, right? I got a no. And then I wrote spiral of hell. So that was the answer I got from your guys. So yours was much more palatable, your answer. Instead of no, spiral of hell.
Bleep, no. Yeah.
Anyway,
right?
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. But I also, you know, I mean, having, you know, Chris, you come into my life and us finding each other, it certainly took us down different paths, and you support me, I support you. And sort of like, we were obviously destined to be where we are. And I just think that if I had stayed not meeting you and stayed sort of where I was at, yeah, I just would not have been very happy. But I don't know how long I would have stayed there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was a cute moment. I like what you said. That was really sweet. So yeah, I mean, we can still talk about this if you want, or do you have another question? I'm ready.
I do. I have another question. I would like, this is totally different. Is how can I best support Hudson as we ready to move back to LA? So this is a mom, you know, coming from the mom side of me.
Mm-hmm.
Or Hudson in general. I was just trying to be specific for my MTLOs.
And for those playing at home, MTLOs would be the masters, teachers, and loved ones that are contained within Linda Howell's Pathway Prayer.
Yeah.
Now back to regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah. Which is still me taking notes.
What I got like immediately was, "Oh my God, Mom, leave me alone. Just pack your bags." Right?
Like,
Well,
don't overdo it.
Well, I mean, there's a strong desire on his part to be independent, for you to trust him.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that we still don't follow up and make sure of things, but he needs more latitude.
Okay. Yeah, which we know when we talk about, meaning you and
I. So I got definitely keep him grounded and letting him indulge in his interest in some way. But also I'm getting, he really needs to get out of the house, and like, he doesn't want to get out of the house maybe. And it's like, no, get him out of the house. He needs to actually live in the world and not just be like a creature in his room. Like, I'm seeing like him slithering out, like, give me a snack, you know, and then slithering back. It's like, 'cause, I mean, he's that age anyway, right? And that's pretty common, but it's like, it's kind of like you kind of, or maybe you're going to have to force him to go out. And even though he might not like it, like, he's still like participating in life in a way. So that's number one. It's like, still let him have his interests, but also be like, nope, this is your responsibility as a human being, a citizen of the planet. We're all going out for something, or, you know, something like that. But I'm getting like a social aspect that's going to be coming up. I don't know if it's already been, but like a social aspect in that he is going to want to have a little bit of support, but maybe he doesn't really know how to ask for it in the future. Now, right now, everybody's got a social aspect going on because of coronavirus. I'm saying like down the line a little bit as he's kind of getting into like really vicious teenage like years, there will be some social things going on, not particularly problems, but like just identity and, you know, where you fit in the world.
Okay.
And so, almost like starting now and being a little bit more of like probing, but really it's almost like a balancing act of probing, because, you know, when you ask, oh, how's everything in school? Fine. Which
God, Mom.
nothing.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah. It's like this anger. So I don't know, just to, you know, to keep pressing him like that, but in a way, just be like, hey, listen, you ever want to talk about something? I'm here for you. You know, I don't know, like somehow making sure that he always knows that no matter what, he can come to you. And actually, I saw a meme today that was very appropriate, and it was about dad, but not. I mean, it can apply to both of you. It's like, don't. What was the meme exactly? It was kind of like, when you screw up in life, be the dad that. It's not like, oh my God, I have to call my dad, I'm in so much trouble. It's like, oh my God, I'm in so much trouble, I have to call my dad.
Yeah.
Kind of like that kind of situation.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. So that would be a good way to support him in the future.
Yeah. Okay. That's great.
And as for right now, it is just that delicate balance, right? I mean, giving him the sense that he has freedom, but also following up on him. We know that he needs to get outside.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's just different times to be able to, it's hard for me during the day, you know, because of to work to get him out, but next week's a different week because both he and I are off. So
yeah,
we can go do a couple of hikes with Kingston.
Family bonding.
Yeah. Well, and we get him out during the, I mean, he walks during the day. I mean, he does get out. And you know, everything, yeah, this is the hard part with COVID, everything's being closed.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, okay, we'll go on another hike. You know, it's like going out means like,
Yeah.
you know, for him, physical activity, which, you know.
Yeah,
but
we
used to out with restaurants and like going to go see things, and you know, as a whole like plethora of things you can do. But yeah, so that's something that we'll have to just continue to keep doing.
Yeah,
because it is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I originally saw this, it was almost like you guys were on a boardwalk or something, and you and Chris were like getting ice cream, and he's like, I don't want ice cream. It was like, here, take some ice cream. It was almost
Doesn't
like
sound familiar at all.
It's
welcome to my Sunday.
Really? It was just like a creature, like, I don't want any. You know, it's like,
why are we
hey,
at Target?
I know you like ice cream. Here's some damn banana ice cream. Eat the ice cream. Bye. You know, like.
Right. And
so one of the
smile.
tricks that I've employed, and I shared this with you, Meredith, particularly when we were in Montana de Oro, and he was just fucking miserable. I don't want to be here. How long is this walk? And this is world-class beauty. We are literally walking on these wonderful cliffs. There's tide pools. It's like stunning. And so as he's just like, he and Meredith are just, you know, like kind of going back and forth, and I'm just standing behind them like, you know what? I'm going to let my higher self sort this out. So I imagined like his higher self or his, you know, his soul or whatever, just coming up a little bit, and then mine coming up a little bit. And they were just laughing like, oh, this is good for him. And then Hudson's like, why do I feel like lightheaded? I'm like, oh, that's fresh air. And then everybody starts laughing like up here. So when I do get those moments where I feel frustrated with him, or like the very human aspects of like, you know, the dad and the natural fallback positions, I just trust, not just, but I also attempt to trust that the work that's supposed to be happening at a higher level or at a soul level is actually happening because we're physically putting ourselves in the right situation. Does that make sense? And how's it ring with you, Christina?
Yeah, exactly. But I also got, I don't know if it's the same or not, but when earlier you guys were talking about how he wants to be independent, and I got independent jokes on him. It's almost like, okay, yeah, oh wow, you're so independent. And he's like this, but behind your back, his back, it's just like you guys are like
Yeah.
knowing full well that it's like he does need to feel like he's making, he's calling the shots, but knowing that you guys really are calling the shots, but jokes on him kind of deal, in that he is kind of a clueless, I'm independent. And this is going to be a theme for a while, like even into like college years. It's going to be like, well, I'm an adult. It's like, okay.
Wait, so pause there. This is a question as Chris, the husband. Is he going to be gone when he's 18?
Getting a no.
All right. I think we've got time for one more question. What say you, Meredith?
Okay.
No.
Well, so this is, okay. I'd like to know what my agreement is with my dad.
Ooh.
Huh. Interestingly, and this is not directly answered, I'm going to go back in, but I'm going to give Christina some time to write.
Yeah.
Right when you asked the question, I saw like this sort of shape.
So
So it was like this, and then it showed him, but like a ghostly version of himself. So it was like white light sort of, right? So just imagine like with like moonlight coming in through a window, as a Catholic priest. And then you, but not you, were on your knees on a pew, like facing the altar. I'm gonna go back and get some more. That doesn't answer your question.
Priest?
He was
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
He
sort of.
became one. Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah, but let me go back and get some more.
So I'm going to edit a little bit of the information just because I don't want to be so revealing about maybe your father's situation. I mean, it's nothing like scathing or, anything like revealing. It's just, I'm here with you and not particularly him. So I do want to show a little bit of courtesy. But I will say, if I had to sum up, he shows love different. And a lot of the choices he makes, he makes with like insecurity behind it. So maybe there was some inconsistencies of do as I say, not as I do almost. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm getting. It's like he shows love differently. A lot of decisions made with insecurity behind them and some inconsistencies where it just not really didn't make sense, but it just wasn't logical maybe to you how things were happening. But as far as like in this lifetime, I mean, I see it's almost like a Venn diagram where you guys are two different circles, and then there's the interaction in between, but then you're working on your stuff, he's working on his stuff. So really, you guys are pawns in each other's soul journeys, so that you both accomplish what you need to accomplish in the inner work sector, and he has inner work to do as well. That while he's here, I don't know if he's already had it, but actually no, they're telling me he's always going to be in it, almost like you, and which is almost like he's not very forthcoming with it because it's a mystery. He's not very you're kind of like, you're open about it, like you're like, I'm in therapy, but I'm doing this for myself and doing that, and maybe he's not so much like that. Like he's a little bit more like guarded. As far as he has been in your soul family before, because we all come in with like as a soul family. For example, I mean, like me and some of my immediate family, and then some of my friends, and then sometimes some acquaintances that happen to come into my life. we've all come into Earth, Earth time at the same time for kind of a reason, while everything kind of plays on each other. So you guys are part of the same, very similar soul family. So you've been different relationships before. This is the first one where it's almost like he's the dad, you're the daughter, whereas in another one, at least, it was a flip where you were the older person and he was the younger person, whatever that may be.
So with you on a kneeler and him as a priest, there's you praying from a penitential position.
Okay.
Right. And there's him praying almost from a pleading position. So attempting to communicate with the same energy of the same God and getting, because penance was a word that I heard right away, but it was more you towards him than him towards you. But that there's a disconnect by design, is like maybe not even something that you were supposed to communicate or talk through between these two. So you're both doing the same activities in this scene where you're pleading or praying to or leaning on a source, more so for him that's outside of himself, to be benevolent and to bring salvation and grace. And with you in this kneeling position, because the power position is that one, right, where you're acting as a spokesperson for your flock, and where yours is a more individualized experience with that. And so, yes, so then in that sense, you're in mass together, but there's not a real communication about some of these elemental aspects of the spiritual or divine self. And this, I think, is a roundabout way of answering the question, is that if you were to say, Dad, do you believe in God? Right. And to use some of his language and to have him start expressing how he feels and how he reconciles dogma versus his intuition versus his experience. And that would be a really interesting way for you to connect with him around, now that he's got 70 plus years of experience on this earth, how does he feel about it now? Right. Because is he, and there's no wrong answer, but if he's looking external for that sort of salvation or grace, or if there's like little glimpses of him, you know what I mean, where I'm going with that, where it's more about being in the moment of that individualized experience, and that you have the answers as a person. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but there seems like there's a real opportunity there for you to have conversations around that with him, and not because you're trying to provide a certain way of thinking or even express your own way of thinking, is to allow him to explore some of these other possibilities, because some of them may feel true. He just may not have anyone around to talk to about that, particularly after his brother's passing. It's interesting. It's like, it's almost like scenes from different movies. Like he's doing it one way, you're doing it another. And you could actually like come together and talk about the experience. And not that anyone's right or wrong. It just.
I'm curious. Is he a preacher or a priest of some sort, really?
No, he went in the seminary and then he ended up dropping out and marrying my mom.
Oh.
No, he went on to do construction and yeah, so no,
Okay.
we have a very, very close relationship.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's amazing. He's awesome. And I chose him for a reason. I chose both my parents for a reason. And I think just having better insight behind why I chose him and what we're here to help teach each other, It's almost like I feel like he has taught me so much and has supported me so much and has been my cheerleader and my champion. And he's the one who would drag me out of depressive sleep of 16 hours and drag me to therapy when I wouldn't go to therapy because I was too tired. Like he'd go to the end of the earth for me, you know? And I want to be able to do the same for him. And it's not that, right? It's not about like tit for tat and, you know, eye for an eye. I don't mean to come across that way, but I want to support him and give him as much space and love and understanding as he gave me.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing to do when I haven't seen him in a year, and you know, I'm so far away, and you know, COVID, and it's just. But I know that his answer would be, you know, Meredith, you just keep working on yourself, and
yeah.
And I mean, I know that's, you know, his answer would be, you just keep loving yourself, keep working on yourself, and that's all he needs.
Well, that makes sense, what you just told me with what I wrote down while Chris was talking, which was the output is the evidence.
Yeah.
The output. That's the focus on the output. So whatever he's putting out there, that's how he shows love. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible, and this is a question for you to sit with like over the next few days, whenever you have time, to ask where the roles were reversed, right? And what would that have looked like if you actually were him and he were you, whether it's in this lifetime or another one, right? Because it feels like this is not the first time that you've had these roles together, but inverted.
Yeah. I'm just writing.
Why are you smiling, Christina?
No, I don't know. I'm just living in the energy.
It's good. Well, that was a hell of a first shot into a threesome.
Yeah, it was. So we went straight to the Queen Supreme herself. I feel like you've got some pretty big balls to allow her to come on, just because I know that, you know, you guys do have to live with each other, and you know, it might be a little bit I mean, that's pretty daring. I mean, you guys are in the same house right now, and you're like, let's bring her. And that's me. It's a normal day in the office, but for you, Chris, I don't know if you were nervous or at all or anything. I don't think you were too much, but you know, or if at all. But very interesting. So, I mean, Meredith, thank you for allowing us to do what we want to do.
I'll take the two of you anytime.
Yay!
I call shotgun.
Right, yeah. Wasn't as scary as I thought.
Well, you know, why don't we close the records, because I still feel.
Yeah.
So.
Why don't you do it? Take us out, Christina. I'll go on mute.
Oh, okay. I would like to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I would like to thank the Lords of the Akashic Records for their point of view. And I would like to thank the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. The records are now closed, amen. The records are now closed, amen. The records are now closed, amen. Okay. Close. Again, thank you so much, Meredith.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
It was great to actually kind of meet you a little bit.
I mean, I know.
I've seen you once, but yeah.
Yeah, I can close my eyes, and it's just now it's all like come together. It's great. Thank you so much.
Well, when you guys get back to Santa Monica, I'll probably be more of a fixture. Boom, boom, boom. Hi.
Good. Yay.
Before.
I'm excited about that.
Yes.
Maybe
totally.
we'll do some recording in your new house.
Yeah.
In the yard. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Sounds like a party.
I
Bye.
love you, honey. Bye. See you after work. Bye.
Bye.
Got my Akashic lunch pail.
Yeah. Well, that was really fun
Yeah.
and really what we do.
It is, yeah. And it's my hope is that she got, a couple little nuggets out of that. It's interesting, of course, reading someone that you're intimately involved with, and not just at a physical level or because we work together, but emotionally and spiritually, and we've signed up for it, right? So we're constantly doing it, and to separate some of the fact from not fact, but just trusting. So it's good practice for me to be able to just trust and understand that what's coming through is what needs to be delivered.
Absolutely. Right. And I thought that you did an excellent job. And I do think that you definitely expertly separated yourself from husband Chris and spiritual counselor Chris. So good job.
Thanks. Now it's time to take out the garbage. No, it's good. So I want to do more of this for sure.
Absolutely. I'm ready.
And
We need people.
we have people, and I think there should be a bit of a prerequisite. So I think what we can do and what we should do is at least kicking off the new year to do these pretty intensely, right? And to help people and show what it is that we do together, and just help move things forward. But we also need to start marketing the podcast a little bit and find a name for it and all those fun things too. So if you're interested or you would like to come on for an hour and be part of a tag team, Chinese finger cups, whatever. Right? Yes.
Welcome to our spiritual threesome, everybody.
Maybe that's it, right?
Yeah.
Menage a spirit. Oh, we'll play that anyway.
Yeah.
We cut that out. I'm kidding. No, but let's we'll do this. So there's ways to certainly get a hold of us, but you have to like and subscribe to the podcast.
Exactly.
Right.
Whatever platform you're listening on.
Right. So Christina, as always, a pleasure. I love you.
Likewise, love you too. Thank you, and a pleasure.
Thanks for doing your job.
Yeah, thank you.